Thanks for all coming in today. I'm going to be speaking to you about senior hires and how to deliver this effectively in-house. I am conscious I've got the lunchtime slot, so thank you for all coming in to see and not rushing off to have lunches. There's a little stat that I found recently that 58% of organizations expect to see a huge increase in the amount of senior hires that they're looking to bring into their organizations to achieve their business objectives next year, or this year, 2019. With that in mind, I believe that recruiting senior hires in-house will reduce your time to hire, your cost per hire, but it'll also increase your quality. The key thing with these three things is that they're all measurable, and I'll explain how. So this is today's content. So this is what today is going to look like. So a little bit about me, a little bit about the business that I work for. Why should you recruit in-house over agency, particularly senior hires? What that approach is, so what you need to have in place in order to recruit senior hires in-house, and ultimately what those senior hires are expecting, which will enable you then to perform the delivery. Okay? Does that make sense? What I will finish with then is some action points for you to take away, followed by then some questions, as long as we have time. Terry, can you keep me honest on the time, please? So, who am I and why am I qualified, I suppose, to stand up in front of all you professionals and discuss senior hires? So, a little bit about me. 5 years recruitment experience, in-house agency. I've worked for Hayes PLC. I've worked with a startup. In fact, I've started a startup with some friends of mine there again. And I've worked in-house the last 2 years. So I'm a proactive talent scout, if you will. My job is to go out to the target audience, bring them into our business. Who do I work for? So I work for a business called Alcumus. Alcumus are a market-leading risk management consultancy. Effectively, we specialize in health and safety and the technology solutions that allows health and safety to be less boring and more prominent in organizations. I suppose I've been with Alcumus for 21 months. The situation before I joined Alcumus was, before I and my boss joined Alcumus actually, was quite similar to some of the stories we've already heard at some of the other seminars today. Recruitment's on its knees. Agency was one of the biggest costs for businesses, so we had 80% agency usage. We had 40% of senior agency hires leaving within the first 12 months. Now, if you're trying to run a business and your leaders are leaving, it means the people underneath them are going to leave as well. Naturally, with senior hires leaving within the first 12 months, or certainly 40% of them, there's a huge risk to those business objectives. And Alcumus is a private equity-owned business, so those business objectives include double-digit growth year on year. We have a current target to double our EBITDA, our profits, by 2021. So those business objectives, those growth objectives, they're crucial, they're critical. Okay? Naturally, when recruitment isn't working or perceived to be not working, perceived to be the fall guy, you get uninvested stakeholders. And if you're using 80% agency usage, you're going to have a lot of budget overspent. Here's some figures. So 2016, 2017, a lot of starters, a lot of agency spend. And when you think 40%, now this is group numbers, so this is not just senior hires, this is total hires. However, when a large number of these senior hires are leaving, it's money walking out the door continuously, okay? So, what did we do? So Alcumus went to an in-house recruitment function, so took one in-house recruiter dealing with 80% agency usage to a team of 3 in-house recruiters at the time, including my boss. I was hired then to deliver senior and critical hires, okay? So a couple of things that we did. Personally, I hired 84 critical and senior people into the business, whether that be marketing directors, sales directors, fee earners, head of digital, head of client acquisition, real senior roles into the business that allow it to achieve its business objectives. 2018, we achieved 195 business hires. 0% agency. That's a personal stat. We still used agency for a number of roles, but I'm proud to have battled to use 0% agency. 75% cost per hire reduction, so that's a huge measurable statistic straight away. Again, that is based on overall recruitment spend, but the senior hire recruitment spend plays a huge part of that when you think that senior hire recruitment spend is double, on average, the standard hire recruitment spend. Okay? Time to hire reduced from 11 weeks to 6 weeks. Now, I heard earlier that candidates expect an offer within, 3 weeks, is it? Okay, we still have work to do on that one. Year-on-year organic growth and a 6% ENPS increase. The reason I've included those two stats is because for me that's how you measure quality. If you're bringing in senior people, you can't always measure quality just on retention, which is your traditional senior hire measurement statistic. What you want to measure is your culture improving? Is your financial revenue targets, are they improving? Or what you're achieving revenue-wise, are they improving? And long-term, is your retention improving? Is the retention of the people working underneath those senior people, is that improving? Okay? We won the In-House Recruitment Awards, Best Team, Best Newcomer. Thank you. And then some key stats for 2018 and 2019. So if you have a look, recruitment spend went massively reduced. So we reduced recruitment spend by 75%, as it says up there. We haven't used any agencies yet this year. Touch wood. Fingers crossed we won't. And then there's just some key measurables again. I talked about senior hires being measured in more than just retention. These are some key stats that show that A, there's still room to improve, but B, that there is year-on-year improvement, and that's how you measure whether your senior hires are coming in and doing a good job, and how you argue that recruiting senior hires in-house is the way to proceed. Okay? What's next? And then the revenue growth. So when you're speaking to your CEO, when you're speaking to C-suite, when you're speaking to your people that you need to drive the influencers, that need to influence your other key stakeholders, these are some of the statistics that you need to look at. Culture, values, and revenue growth improvement. Okay? So, what's next? Shall we do some... No, it's a bit too loud. So I was going to make this quite interactive and ask for some examples of why your stakeholders would want to use agency rather than using in-house. Because we all get it. They all say straight away, we need a head of marketing, we need a marketing director, let's go to agency. It's a bit loud, so I'm just going to put them on the board. These are some of your key reasons, I think, that I found why your stakeholders will say, I'm going to agency. Agree? Good. In red are the potential drawbacks. And I say potential because not every agency will give these drawbacks. The key thing I want to focus on here is very bottom right. It says weakens candidate experience. Now, what I found is the senior hires or any hires that I brought into the business, if something isn't quite right within those first 1, 2, 3 months, the person they come to is the person that recruited them into the business, right? If the person that recruited them into the business is an external recruiter, you have a problem, because that's where your message is going. It's not going internally, okay? For me, that's a drawback. That's another reason why you should be recruiting senior hires in-house, all right? Okay, here are some of the pros and potential drawbacks for recruiting senior hires in-house. We all know that we have a better knowledge of our teams, better knowledge of our businesses, better stakeholder relationships, I hope. And we should have a focus on culture fit, because we're bringing in the people that are going to affect our culture. They're going to make sure that the people they then bring in are going to have a positive effect on our culture. So for me, in-house recruitment is an absolute cert for recruiting senior hires. However, the potential drawbacks and the excuses that potentially your stakeholders are going to tell you are that we don't have enough access to resources, we're slow, reactive. So there is a solution to some of those arguments. So the solution is And this is what you need to have before you can think that you can recruit senior hires in-house. You need to have the basis of an in-house recruitment team. You need to have the team knowledge. You need to have the stakeholder management. You need to have the focus on the fit. You know, the usual stuff that any in-house recruitment team will have. But to recruit senior hires in a proactive way, you need to be the go-to person in that market. So you need to think a little bit like an agency recruiter. You need to network. You need to be visible. You need to be approachable. You need to be consultative as well. So there's many conversations I have with senior candidates that may or may not come and work for Alcumus, and it's having that honest conversation to say, you're a great candidate, I don't think this business is right for you, we're too fast-paced, we're too unstructured, because we're very, very agile, and it's about being consultative. It's not saying that Alcumus is the best thing since sliced bread. It's about having the conversations that a recruiter will have. It's separating yourself sometimes from the business and saying, we have this, and this, but actually as a business, we need to improve this, and this. Is it for you? Okay? Okay, so for me, that's a very whistle-stop story of why you should be recruiting senior hires in-house. What we have next is your approach if you think you're ready, or what you need to have in place to recruit senior hires in-house. So the first thing is a champion on the board. I think it was Lisa that mentioned earlier that your influence starts at executive level is absolutely true. So we have a CEO who is all about pushing recruitment in-house. There is a book by Jim Collins called Good to Great. In there, he says the biggest single impact on a business, stopping it from going from good to great, is not having the right senior key people on board. And it starts with these people. It starts with them influencing your stakeholders. The magic word, stakeholders. You need buy-in from your stakeholders. Now, there was a key quote earlier from Neil that reads, and he mentioned that candidates are customers, stakeholders are customers as well. Stakeholders are the people that you can't tell what to do. You never tell a customer what to do. You influence, you inspire. There are a number of ways to get buy-in from stakeholders. A lot of the time it's compromise. So when I first joined Alcumus, and they are used to use an agency, I had to battle. I had to say, give me a chance, give me 3 weeks to recruit this role, and then you can go to agency. Or sometimes, some finance roles, I had to work against an agency. I had 2 candidates in a process, they had 2 candidates in a process. That's what it's about. It's about compromise until you prove yourself, and then your buy-in scale goes further and further and further up. There is a number of key influencers or key techniques to influence stakeholders. Has anyone heard of Robert Cialdini? Good. Yeah, so 6 principles of influencing people. If you do anything after today, please research Robert Cialdini's 6 principles. It will give you some good techniques to influence your stakeholders. Know your business inside out. It's an obvious one, but what I mean by that is going the extra mile. It's sitting with your stakeholders. It's spending time in their teams. I've recruited 2 sales directors for 2 separate divisions into our business, and I've been out with the BDMs. I've been out in the field. I've seen what they do as a day job, and I'm able to pass that information on then to the potential stakeholders, the potential senior candidates. Okay? Map out process. So this is an important one for me. And the key here is not just to map out the process that you see. So if you talk about the process that you see, it could be phone screen, it could be stage 1 interview, stage 2 interview, offer, okay? There are so many parts of that process that you're not involved in, that where the candidate is going away and he's going to your website, or she's going to your website, the candidate's going away and he's going on to Glassdoor. These things are the things you need to think about. So map out the full process, where they're going. So if you think about an iceberg, the parts that you're involved in are the tip of the iceberg. What the candidate is doing while they're not recruiting, while they're not interviewing, while they're not speaking to you, that's below ground, that's below the sea level, and that's the things you need to think about as well. Know your critical or senior roles. So there's a proactive approach to this. So agency recruiters are going to have access to more candidates than you straight away. The way to beat that is to Work with your stakeholders, work with your HR business partners, map out your critical, your senior roles that are potential risks, potential retirement, everything. You have to map out those critical roles and you have to work backwards then when you're going to start recruiting them should something happen, okay? Know your why. Who's a Simon Sinek fan here? Okay, good, thank you. Thanks for sitting front row. Simon Sinek talks about a business's why. So a lot of businesses, and I'll go into it in a bit more detail very quickly, a lot of businesses talk about what they do and how they do it. They don't really talk about why they do it. And that's important for senior hires. And I'll go into in a bit more detail in a second. But senior hires, I believe, aren't as interested in remuneration or how long you've been going. They're all about the why you are going, what your purpose is, what your vision is, what your mission is, okay? So, while I take some water, there's a quote from one of our senior people within the business, and this is just touching on that why element. Okay? Good. So, senior hire expectations. What are senior hires looking for? According to a Hayes salary survey, of which I have many, remuneration is the biggest thing that general candidates, we'll call them general candidates, are looking for. You or I. Remuneration, 41%, and same statistic as read earlier, actually. Candidates are looking for remuneration as the number one motivator. The work itself is second. Now, I've researched, I've discussed it with our senior hires in the business. This is what they are motivated by. This is what senior hires motivated by, what separates them from general candidates. And that's the work itself. Will they be coming in? Will they be making a difference? Will there be problems that they can solve? It's quite interesting. The senior hires that I work with, they want there to be problems. They want there to be things wrong with the business because they want to come in. They want to see quick wins. They want to see how they can come in and make a difference. And here's the Simon Sinek Golden Circle, okay? Why and how, bless you, why and how is what all organizations are able to demonstrate. Sorry, how and what is what all organizations are able to demonstrate. A why not many are. So this is probably one of the first things you need to go back and do. And if you're looking to recruit senior hires, you need to discuss your why. You need to find out, A, what a senior hire's why is, and B, what your why is, and see that it reciprocates. Okay? Then just a stat. There's a reason that why is there. 86% of the most qualified candidates for your senior roles are already employed and not actively seeking a job. So you have to have a reason that they want to be interested in you. You have to have a reason why Alcumus is the next move for you or for them. Okay, last couple of slides. So I think we've discussed why in-house should recruit senior hires. We've touched upon what you need to have in place to do it. And then I'll just touch upon a couple of key things. So planning. So you need to be proactive. You need to look at your workforce headcount planning, your critical roles, your known risks, your planned growth business objectives, what senior hires are coming in the next 12 months, and when you're going to start working on them. Tools. So 73% or 74% of organizations say that company website is the most effective recruitment tool. So we saw with Reed earlier that I think it was something like 24% will do job searching via a job board, but they don't always apply straight away, particularly senior hires. They will then go and validate what your message is on the job boards by going to your website. They want to see what your culture is like. They want to see potentially what difference they can make to your organization. The other key thing, and there's a statistic coming up next, 72% of stakeholders, hiring managers think their job descriptions are fully informative. Half that percentage agree. That's such a key thing. If you are recruiting senior hires, the very first thing they ask is not salary, it's do you have a job description? Can you send me a job description? So you need to make sure your job description is a selling tool. You need to make sure that it isn't the works of Shakespeare, that it is it gives a reason why that candidate will want to come and join the business, okay? Recruitment process. So we've already talked about mapping out, including where you're not involved. A key thing for senior hires for me, so a lot of my senior hires I approach, we recruit very few senior hires via job boards, via job adverts. So there's a coffee always before that formal stage. The reason why there's a coffee, there's a culture fit. We're looking at culture fit. We're looking at, it's a sales role. I'm selling the business to them. They don't know after one phone call. They have many phone calls from recruiters like me. They don't know that they want to come and work for our business. They need to have the coffee, preferably on site, so they can see the culture, they can see the environment, they can be wowed by it. And that's just a couple of more statistics around why consistency is key around the interview stages. So one of the 6 Cialdini principles of influence is consistency. So it's not just influencing your stakeholders, it's influencing your candidate by having consistency in the process. So a good first stage, good second stage. Stakeholders, hiring managers, knowing that they're prepared and they're giving the same message that you're giving. Approach. Okay, so for me, when I recruit senior hires, I look at it as a project. It's not just advertising a job, checking the adverts. I map out where I'm going to find these senior hires, where I'm going to message these senior hires. Generally, it's LinkedIn, and these senior hires don't want the works of Shakespeare. They want a very short message, why you found them an interesting candidate to come and work for Alcumus or for you guys. And hold key information back. I never, ever, ever give the salary in the first message. In fact, I've recruited a marketing director 2 months ago who didn't want to know the salary until he's gotten through the process. We had a ballpark figure discussed, but salary wasn't important. He wanted to know the opportunity, and salary was something we discussed very, very later on. And the obvious things, identify how they can make a difference and sell you why. That's so important for me. Offer and onboarding. Okay, this is the interesting one. 6-month notice periods. They're a joy to deal with. So the first thing is just prepare for a counter offer. How do you prepare for a counter offer? You discuss it right at the start of the process. You look at why are they looking to leave, and that's always there, and you're always repeating that. You're always confirming, have you thought about a counter offer? What is going to happen when that counter offer happens? Scale measure their happiness. So one of my favorite questions to ask, and it's quite basic, but it's a great question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're turning down my offer, 10 being you're starting tomorrow, where are you? And if they're anywhere else other than 10, you've got a job to do. Integrating into the business before the start date. So that's a key thing for me. And it's quite, it depends on your organization, really. So we have a number of senior hires that we've recruited into the business. They have 3 to 6 month notice periods. So with their agreement, with the business agreement, we have NDAs. You know, we'll send out an NDA and we'll get them involved in the things they can be involved in pretty quickly. I'm going to skip a few because I'm rattling on a bit. So actions to take away. Get your stakeholders on board from day one. Research Cialdini's 6 principles. Take a proactive approach. In-house recruitment is still a sales role. Agencies are quite patronizing around in-house recruitment. It is still a sales role. You have to sell your business. Ensure every candidate experience is quick, enjoyable, and consistent. Cialdini's principles again. And control the process from start to finish, including onboarding. Do not let any hiring manager take the control of that process away from you, okay? So I had to rattle through because I've run out of time. Any questions?